Hello, everyone. Thank you for being with us. This is like our second time doing these live videos, and for us, it's important because we want you, our American friends, be able to be informed what is going on and what is happening with the people in other countries, but also with our people here. And for that, I am very grateful to have a Gracie Cabrera with us. She is the representative, I will call, of the Cuban community in the Kansas City area. Cuba right now is in a tough situation. The condition in the island are deteriorate every day, and also in the same time, the Cuban community feel a little hope. But I want to, Gracie, let us know exactly what is going on right now in Cuba, Gracie. What we need to have this conversation so that people understand what the Cubans that live in Missouri and Kansas are worried about.
Sure. So right now in Cuba, there's consistent blackouts. The majority of the country only has access to 2 to 4 hours of electricity per day, while some other areas of the country only have 1 hour of electricity per day. Now, blackouts are nothing new for Cuba. We've been having blackouts for 67 years. However, right now it's becoming a bigger burden since a special period we hadn't had such terrible blackouts where 60% of the country at the same time is without electricity. We have greatly lacked medications. The doors seem to keep closing on ways to get help over there because for the last few decades, Cuba has been largely maintained, or the Cuban population has been largely maintained by their family members and friends who live outside of Cuba. And so the shipping has just been paused
And that is
for
a big deal,
life.
exactly, because right now, and correct me, because again, you are the who can help and us understand better. Is people unable to go to work? Is it people unable to go to schools? They even told me that it's start a pop protest in the island. They don't have a big protest, but it's start happening, and it's like an clock down until the island will run out of any gas that they have in order to maintain even the little electricity that they have right now. That is right.
One thing to keep in mind is that most of the resources that Cuba receives is kept at a very high level of government officials and tourist areas and businesses. So for Cubans, getting to work and getting to school has always been a struggle. But right now, what's putting a lot more pressure on things is that the resources that the government, the regime has previously used for themselves and for to continue the tourist sector, which they own, is under threat for them. So there's only today actually is going to be the last day there is fuel available for Cuban Airlines. Everyone else who lands in the island will have to be prepared to have their own fuel supply to go back to their destination.
Let me exactly what you say. They are running out the fuel for the Cuban airplanes and mobilization. What is the situation? Do you know is this really the airlines in the United States have a plan? They are continuing to go back and forth. We know there's a short distance from Miami at least, but do you know exactly what is going on if the airlines stop going to Cuba? And you talked about what you say, the cargo shipping, something that is huge for the community that depends on sending stuff. So why this is a stop? Because they are unable to process inside.
No, I think there were other issues with the shipping that are unrelated to this. But as far as the airlines, if American Airlines as of now have not canceled any flights into Cuba, I think because it's such a short distance, they should be able to have plenty of supply to go into the island and come back. It's usually 45 to an hour minute flight. So There shouldn't be a problem there. We haven't seen any cancellations yet, thank God. And we're still able to send supplies via planes, as far as we know.
Um, what is the expectation? We know that right now, by the order of Donald Trump, Mexico stopped selling oil, Venezuela too, what was the biggest supplies in the island. So, what is the expectations for you, for the Cuban community in Kansas and Missouri? What is your expectation that could happen in the next 3 weeks?
The expectation for us, our deepest desire, is that the regime will give up and just leave. The Trump administration has made it clear that they're given the option to retire with all their billions of dollars in Russia and live their days out there. But they're making it very difficult, obviously. The Cuban people have been suffering for 67 years under this regime with the lack of every basic necessity, including medications. So this is nothing new for us. There is higher pressure, obviously, at this point because we don't know what to expect. But the people inside of Cuba are hoping for freedom. They're hoping for some type of intervention. I know that's an unpopular opinion, but they're hoping the same thing that happened in Venezuela also happened in Cuba. And we're seeing the graffiti in the walls, the seaside walls, and many iconic buildings in Havana, saying "Long live Trump" and "We want you here, Trump." And the expectations of the Kansas City community, who has a large number of Cuban exiles and Cuban refugees, is also that without bloodshed, without violence, we can have a peaceful transition and the regime will peacefully go and allow us, the Cuban community, to rebuild Cuba.
How the families in Kansas and Missouri, Kansas City, they are communicate right now with their families? Do you know, is this possible? Is this hard? What is the condition of the communication with the island?
It's very difficult because we have to wait until they're able to charge their phones, and whenever they do get a little bit of electricity. Sometimes in some towns, because the infrastructure is so weak, when there's no electricity, there's also no signal. So we remain uncommunicated most of the time, except for maybe 1 hour or less per day.
Well, thank you, Gracie, for letting us know what is going on and this will go in Te la Cuento News English. The invitation is on the you share with your friends. So listen from the migrants and for the Cubans directly what is going on in the island.
Thank you.